Hello students, this side Bindu Chaudhary is with you in your social science class and we are continuing our unit 2nd. The name of the unit is Parliament and the Making of Laws. We had studied earlier in our chapter 3rd about the Parliament. Why do we need Parliament? And under that we had studied the sequences, we had studied the importance of Parliament as well as how Parliament works with the help of Lok Sabha, Rajya Sabha and President. And when we had studied about the making of laws in our chapter 4th, we had studied about understanding laws, different laws, how laws were made by the MPs, by the concern of the people, by the awareness of the people through media, through electronic media, through newspapers, through magazines, through any debates and other talks also. So how it's important we had already discussed. Now today in our part 3rd we will continue on our question answer session. So ready with me? We are taking our first question here. What do you understand by the term the rule of law? Yes, we had already discussed about the rule of law. So we will describe here in our answer session. We had another part also in your response. Include a fictitious, maybe fictitious or maybe real example of a violation of the rule of law. So one by one these two parts are with us in our question answer session. So one by one we will solve it and answer it here. See, rule of law means that the laws apply equally to all irrespective of caste, irrespective of religion, irrespective of color and sex, etc. It means in front of law all are equal, maybe of poor class, maybe of upper class, maybe of any caste, maybe of any religion. And when we are describing it, then color, complexion is also doesn't matter, gender complexion also doesn't matter, because in front of law all are equal. As our freedom fighters, nationalists had a thinking about this, that they suffered a lot in the British rules, and after that they had a conclusion that in our constitution, in our free India constitution, we will put this right of the following, that in front of law all are equal. So we are taking example for this one. Two people jump the signal red light and are caught by the traffic policeman. Yes, you sometimes saw the situations on the road that two people jump the signal red light. जो red light होती है, ट्रैफिक पुलिस ने क्या किया, जैसे ही रेड लाइट से होते हुए भी दो जने वहाँ से जा रहे थे, उन्होंने उल्लंघन कर दिया था. ट्रैफिक पुलिसमैन caught these two peoples. One of them pay a bribe. See the situations, two situations are here. One of them pay a bribe and go scot free. घूस दे दी उन्होंने ट्रैफिक पुलिसमैन को. It is not okay that it seems in a true way. Maybe it is a fictitious story. So he had given bribe to the traffic policeman and go scot free. What about the next one? Whereas the other, who did not or could not do so, had his license confiscated and a challan issued to him. See the situation, one totally free after giving bribe, and the second person, he had his license confiscated, and next situation what? A challan also issued to. These two situations are here, students, and the traffic policeman as well as the first person both violated the rule of law. So this one is the example of violation of rule of law. We are considering our next question here. state two reasons why historians refute it means खंडन करना. हमारे जो इतिहासकार हैं वो कई बार किसी चीज को मानते नहीं हैं, उनका खंडन करते हैं. What? The claim that the British introduced the rule of law in India. Yes, our historians always refute that the Britishers introduced laws in India. Is it true or not? Let's discuss and write in our answer session here. Historians refute the claim that the British introduced the rule of law in India because they had a reason behind it. Colonial law was arbitrary. Yes, we all discussed about the laws of colonial rules and all those are arbitrary. Why they are arbitrary, students? Yes, we had discussed it already that they were one-sided, only in favor of the colonial rulers, not in favor of the Indian people. And the Indian nationalists played a prominent role in the development of the legal sphere in British India. Yes, with the help of the Pandits, with the help of the Maulvis, everything interpreted by them and all things, whether Indian judge or the British rulers judge, they were introduced by these Pandits and Maulvis about the interpretation of the legal sphere in the British India. So, the point that historians told that they refute all these things. Our next question here, students. Reread the storyboard on how a new law on domestic violence got passed. Yes, we had discussed this story in our chapter reading session. So, recall that one in your mind and describe in your own words the different ways in which women's groups worked to make this happen. How the domestic violence law, new law became passed. So, we will describe the situation here. Domestic violence against women was very common in India in the early 1990s. What happened in 1990s or early 1990s, students? So, first we will write that one and after that we will interpret that one. Throughout the 1990s, the need for a new law was raised in different forums like public meetings and women's organizations. They raised the demand of this new law. In the year 1999, Lawyers Collective, a group of lawyers, law students and many activists, after nationwide consultations, took the lead in drafting the Domestic Violence Prevention and Protection Bill. Yes, with the favor of all these people. Maybe they are activists, maybe they are from the news channels, maybe they are the consultants, law students, group of lawyers were there. Everything had participated in drafting the Domestic Violence Bill. It means Prevention and Protection Bill. What's in this one, students? This draft bill was widely circulated. Meetings were held all over the country supporting the introduction of this act. Yes, to introduce this act in India, all the meetings were held time to time in different ways and all supported this introduction for the purpose of the benefit of the women in India. The bill was first introduced in Parliament in the year 2002. See the struggle. Early 1990s, they had some concept in their mind, and with the lots of practice, with the lots of doing practice, it will be implemented in the year 2002. But it was not to the satisfaction of all. See the situation. Yet in the 2002 also, it was not in a position of the satisfaction for all the women of the country. Several women's organizations like the National Commission for Women made submissions to the Parliamentary Standing Committee requesting changes in the bill. Yes, many amendments needed in this one. So, the demand was raised by the women's organizations. The name of these organizations such as National Commission for Women, and all these raised the demand to the Parliamentary Standing Committee for the amendment of the bill. And what happened, students? In December 2002, after reviewing the request made by the National Commission for Women, the Parliamentary Standing Committee submitted its recommendations to the Rajya Sabha, and these were also tabled in the Lok Sabha. Yes, as we had already discussed, only finance bill comes in Lok Sabha, otherwise all the bills, Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha, these two, but all these bills were passed in this one, and after that they becomes the law. Same, this Parliamentary Standing Committee recommended these bills to the Rajya Sabha as well as to the Lok Sabha. The committee's report accepted most of the demands of the women's groups, and finally what happened, students? Finally, a new bill was reintroduced in the Parliament in 2005. See the struggle, how struggled the women for their own rights, for their own protection. After being passed in both houses of Parliament, it was sent to the President for his assent. Yes, we had already discussed in our why do we need Parliament session in our previous chapter about the Parliament, and in that way we had discussed about Lok Sabha, House of Commons, Rajya Sabha, House of Lords, and main President. After any bill passed in Lok Sabha, in Rajya Sabha, that will come to the President. Okay, and after the assent of the President, any bill becomes the law. The Protection of Women from Domestic Violence Act came into effect in 2006. So, this was the main theme about the new bill recognized in the Parliament. So, this is the way Lok Sabha, Rajya Sabha and President's assents. Everything happened, and this new law, Domestic Violence Act, came into existence in the year 2006. So, the concept in the how laws, understanding the laws chapter is there, we are understanding with the help of this question here. Work of women groups on getting the law of domestic violence passed. And what happened in this one? Yes, many points are there in this one. First one, hearing complaints by the victims of domestic violence. And next one is need for new law was raised at different forums, and that's the main reason why all these things happen. See, next, lawyers collectively with law students and activists drafted the Domestic Violence Prevention and Protection Bill. How any rule becomes a law, anything becomes a law, it needs a lots of practice by the different groups of people. This was widely circulated in all over India, and women's movement for the introduction of the bill in Parliament. That's why introduction of bill in Parliament is must, and opposition to the bill is also must, because if anything mismanaged and happen in the rules, then all the opposition parties, they also took action against this one. Refer to Parliamentary Standing Committee. All the things refer to whom, students? All the things comes into consideration to the Parliamentary Standing Committee. And in December 2002, recommendations of the Standing Committee after incorporation of amendments as per women's groups. And what happens? Reintroduction of amended bill was there, and that bill was passed by the houses. Yes, we are writing this one in the points. Assent of the President of India is required. Yes, we had already discussed about this one in our chapter 3rd. Protection of Women from Domestic Violence Act came into effect in 2006. So this one is the step-by-step process of any bill becomes the law. We are considering our next question here. What do you understand by the sentence? What's the sentence is this? See, they also began fighting for greater equality and wanted to change the idea of law from a set of rules that they were forced to obey to law as including ideas of justice. So what's this? What's the meaning of the sentence? First we will write about this one and whom these they are. We will discuss this thing also in our answer session. The Sedition Act of 1870 was a turning point in the struggle for freedom in India. Yes, we had studied this Sedition Act of 1870, and according to Sedition Act, any person protesting or criticizing the British government could be arrested without due trial. It means British colonial people had full right under this Sedition Act of 1870 that if anyone protesting or criticizing the British government, they could be arrested and they had no trial at all. So the concept is here that every person was in fear that we criticize this British government or not. Indian nationalists began protesting and criticizing this arbitrary use of authority by the British. But who opposed this one? Our Indian nationalists opposed all this one because these are the arbitrary. Yes, everything was arbitrary in the British rules. So when these laws were introduced, our Indian nationalists opposed and they fought for their own freedom. They also began fighting for greater equality. Why our constitution included fundamental rights? Because our Indian nationalists had a great demand for all these things. They suffered a lot in the British government rulers, and from all these the result came out and they began fighting for greater equality and wanted to change the idea of law from a set of rules that they were forced to obey to law as including ideas of justice. See how all these things comes in our Indian constitution, in our free Indian constitution, because all these concepts came in the minds of the Indian nationalists and they forced the government to implement all these things. By the end of the 19th century, the Indians started asserting themselves in the colonial courts also because they suffered a lot. The Indian legal profession began emerging as a force to recon. Recon it means कि उनका कहना माना जाने लग गया. With and the Indians demanded respect in the courts also. Before that one, no respects for Indians were there. But later on the demands raised and all these things happened. Indians started using law to defend their legal rights. And one by one, after the awareness, all becomes aware for their own rights, for their own equality. So they opposed the British rulers' laws. Indian judges began to play a greater role in making decisions. How in the previous, in the British rulers, all these things happened. See, our Indian judges also played a greater role in making decisions. So thus, the Indians plays a major role in the evolution of the rule of law during the colonial period. So, the concept of our question's answer comes here. The Indian nationalists advocated for greater equality for Indians before the law, because in front of law all are equal, as our Indian nationalists also raised the demand of equality here. They also advocated bringing changes in the law which were derogatory and which were forced on Indians. So our advocates, our Indian judges all opposed the rulers, British rulers' laws, and they wanted a favor in the side of the Indians also. And all these practices came into existence, and we also noticed that our nationalist as well as the cooperative team, cooperate it means who cooperated all the persons for the new constitution, they all took a great courage and help in the making of the laws. So this one is our chapter reading session with question answers, and hope all the terms of understanding laws is clear to you. We will continue our next chapter in our next session, so stay with us. Have a nice day.